My name is Sharia Carter. I am the director of the Women's Resource Center, and I just want to thank you for coming out tonight to learn more about scholarships, learning about the process and all that good stuff, and hopefully, again, something that you will take away tonight will help you along your journey as you attempt to secure money, because we all know that college is expensive. And again, we just want to make sure that you're equipped with the right tools to pursue that journey if that's what you choose to do. Just thanking our co-sponsors in advance. We have the Office of Financial Aid, the Writing Center, and definitely kudos to the WRC staff for putting this together. And again, we just want to welcome you. We are here for you. Even after tonight, if you have more questions, we encourage you to email us, drop by. This is the hard part, writing those personal statements and all that good stuff. We are here for you. And so that's what we definitely want to make sure that is taken away tonight. And that's my welcome. So welcome, enjoy the food, and hopefully you'll learn a lot tonight. Thanks. I'm going to turn it over to Susan.
So we're going to talk about the scholarship manual, which was created. It is on the Women's Resource Center website. Also, I'll talk a little bit later about we created a Google site. So the slideshows and scholarships that come up will be posted to that, and I will give you access to that later. And maybe later I could pull it up and show you how that'll work. And so the scholarship manual was prepared to assist University of Michigan-Dearborn students. It's a compilation of scholarships, other financial aid information from various sources. There's community, regional scholarships, also national scholarships. It's mostly geared towards specifically women. So we wanted to point out those scholarships to help with the Women's Resource Center and our women students. It's not intended to be the only source of financial assistance. So Jen is going to talk about, from Office of Financial Aid, is going to talk about the scholarships here at the University of Michigan-Dearborn offered for current students. And also she will be speaking about some private scholarships and FAFSA. She's going to touch base on FAFSA as well. So beyond the manual, as I mentioned, the Google website that we'll be adding you to, that was created last year. So students who come in to the office who wasn't able to be here tonight are able to get that information too. There was a scholarship that came up, I believe, in March or something, and I put it up on the website. So, go back to that website to check to see what's been posted, like the new stuff that's been posted as well. And then the Women's Resource Center, we're going to talk about later. We're here to help you. So if you need, you want information about a scholarship we talked about tonight, or if you want help with the scholarship that you've picked out and you're going through it, we're here to help you with that process. And so the purpose of the manual is that scholarships are a form of financial aid. So, not just doing the FAFSA. And so the scholarship application process, we want to demystify that process for you. So there's hints for well-written essays within the manual. Obtaining letters of recommendations and transcripts. I'm going to touch a little bit on the information, but it's broken down in detail in the manual for you. Obtaining letters of recommendations and transcripts, scholarship tracker, is within the manual, and also a financial aid checklist. So you can keep track of which ones you've applied for, or ones that you're interested in, and when they're due. And that'll kind of help you if you're applying to, 5 of them to keep track. Sorry about that. Another reason to put this together, why it's important, obviously you know that tuition's increasing every year. Jobs are becoming more difficult to find when you get out of college, so it's important to try to think about funding your education now and getting those scholarships so you don't have to pay them back later. Because after so many months when you're out of school, you have to start paying on those loans that you take out. So it's important to think about it in that perspective. Don't regret it later. Begin your search early. So the applications that are becoming available are for the 2015-2016 school year. So an example, there's a scholarship that we're going to talk about, the CEW scholarship, comes out, the application comes out in November, and then it's due in January, and that's for next fall. And so keep that in mind. So, if you're here tonight thinking, I'm going to apply and get money for winter, that's not necessarily going to happen, most likely not going to happen, unless, there's something still available through the Office of Financial Aid or something, but that's unlikely. So start looking today. There's a lot coming out during November. Let's see. Each scholarship has its own criteria. Also, be aware of the deadlines. So with the criteria, that's the first thing you should look for when you have, you found a scholarship. Find out if it's based on financial need. Is it based on, and sometimes it'll say like preference or we're looking for that. So in that sense, you can still apply for it. But yeah, if it's like a specific like age group or, are you a current student, like an undergrad, that kind of thing. So look at that. Also be aware of deadlines. So if it's due November 7th, they're likely not going to take it November 8th. Like it's due that day, sometimes, before 5 p.m. So before the work day's over. So look at that. And if you need to, keep a form and track of that, that's a good idea. Or putting it on your calendar if you like to use a calendar. Have it, try to do it, get it turned in before that point as well. So maybe a couple days or even a week ahead, just in case you're missing a form and they need that. So let's see. All right, in your search, be aware of scams. So what do you think if you're on a website? What are some of the things that you would think would not be trustworthy? Yes. Yeah, so they're asking for money. Yes. Okay, so too much personal information. Anybody else back here? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the page looks incomplete, and you really have to look for the information. Okay, so I'll give you some more examples here. So it asks for credit card information, your bank information. Don't trust it. We'll do all the work for you, and then you'll get your scholarship, we promise. The scholarship will cost you some money. You shouldn't have to put any fees in to apply for your scholarships. You are a finalist. You have been selected for this scholarship. So yeah, just be aware of that. The Office of Financial Aid has a website that I've put in the slideshow here. Maybe it's the next slide, where there's some where you can do some searches for scholarships that are not, through the university, but do a broader search. Again, start your search early. You need to start looking now for next year. And so it's good that you're here, thinking about this right now. That's the first step, right? Make sure you're eligible. Examine the entire application. Keep track of your deadlines. Feel free to contact the scholarship organization. So if you have any questions, like specific questions, CEW, you can contact them to make sure you qualify. And feel free to contact us if you wanted us to kind of go through it with you. The application, be sure to read it carefully. Follow all the directions so you don't end up in the refuse pile. So if you don't fill out something, that could be a means to, we're not even going to look at it. Thinking about the date as well, they're not going to make an exception when they have, hundreds of other applications. They're not necessarily going to take yours to be another one to look at. Have a friend, an advisor, or a family member to look over it with you. So once you've completed it, have somebody look at it and help you make some edits, or maybe they notice you missed something, or something that you didn't see while you were doing it. Letters of recommendations. A lot of your scholarships are going to ask for recommendation letters. So be sure to start talking to your professors now. A lot of times it's going to be professors, administrators, a place that you've worked at, so a boss. It's not going to be family members. So be mindful of when you're asking a professor. Don't ask today when your scholarship, when everything's due next week. So be sure to think about that, to give them enough time. Get to know them, allow them to get to know you. So start talking to your professors after class. Start showing interest in the subject. Hopefully you're interested anyways, but let them know that you're engaged in their class. And so whenever, for instance, you haven't talked to your professor and you're like, well, I'm doing great in this class, I'm going to go up and ask them to do a recommendation. They may say no because I don't know you. So start creating those relationships now. Also, a couple of things when you are asking your professor to bring your resume to give to them. So maybe they know you through class, but they don't really have like a whole picture of you. So that might be a good start. Also, think about what is the what you're applying to, and what are some of the points that you want to be expressed for this recommendation. So talking to them about that. And be sure to visit them during office hours, that kind of thing. Check back with them to make sure that they have everything they need, and just remember, like, it's due next week, or after you've already asked them a month ago. And I know the Office of Financial Aid, the application's going to be online again this year. Okay, so last year they created an online application. So you for the your reference recommendation writers, they will go into the system and do it. So is there a way to find out if they didn't? Okay, so you would get like a note, you would be able to see if they submitted it or not. Awesome. So your non-academic references, again, think about the volunteer work, jobs that you've done. If you've been an intern for a semester, talking to them about giving you a recommendation. It could be from a friend that knows you well, and it can't be from family members. If it's a friend that knows you well, I would almost stay away from that, but that's just my personal viewpoint. If you're like working with a friend, like you've volunteered with a friend, or you like maybe a coworker, that might maybe be the more, thinking of lines of professional, academic, that kind of thing. Transcripts from the University of Michigan-Dearborn. If you have transferred, be sure to request it from each college if they ask for that. If it says current institution, then you would do that. And so the University of Michigan-Dearborn will not be able to get your transcripts from Henry Ford Community College. You'll have to go directly to them to get that. Again, plan ahead for that, because it could take some time to process. So if you wanted a printed transcript, you can go down, not downstairs, because we are downstairs, but the first floor, you can request your transcript. Also, you can request it online. I'm not sure if that's a new thing, but through U of M Dearborn Connect, you could request it through there, and that probably will be a quicker process. But again, if you want it printed out, feel more comfortable with that, or if they need the seal on the letter, that might be more of the route to go. The transcript will not be released if you have a overdue balance through your what's the word I'm looking for? Through the university. So if you owe the university money, they won't release the balance. Thank you letters are extremely important. So after your references have turned this in for you, turned in your letter, you've submitted everything. If there's been advisors to help you, professors, be sure to follow up with a thank you letter. Also, the scholarship agency that you turned it into, let them know. When you do get a scholarship, definitely send them thank you letters. Sometimes, from past experience, that not just the agency, but sometimes if it's a specific person, if they have multiple scholarships within one agency or with the university, it may be like a family who funded the scholarship for you. So you would, directly try to get their information and send them a thank you note as well. It's the main funder. And that's something for the thank you letters. If you're having trouble, like, what do I say? There's lots of stuff online to be able to see how to start that. And I believe it's in the scholarship manual as well, like an example. So, scholarship directory, again, Office of Financial Aid has a website. Oh, there's my pointer right here. So credible websites. Also, Women's Resource Center, there's a couple of scholarships that Sharia is going to talk about. We have flyers for those upstairs. So, just stop by the Women's Resource Center, find out if there's some new scholarships. We can help you with that. Also, your school and department, asking them. I think thinking about what degree you're in. So if you're a woman in engineering, there's tons of funding for you, like nationally. So think about like the field you're in, some of the professional organizations For instance, if you're in psychology, there's probably scholarships through those professional psychology organizations. And then the library, you could do a search there as well. So specific scholarships, Sharia is going to touch base with some of the community scholarships that our students have been successful in getting.
Okay, the first one that I'm going to talk about, which is one of the bigger ones, is the CEW scholarship. It's the Center for the Education for Women, and it's based out of Ann Arbor, and fortunately our students are eligible to receive it. It's open to all 3 campuses, Dearborn, Ann Arbor, as well as Flint. The good thing about this particular scholarship is that it is open to several different levels. So you can be undergrad, master's level, as well as doctoral students. So you have that base. The other piece to this scholarship is that you have to essentially be a non-traditional student. So they're looking for students who have had a 48-month hiatus, or it has a total of 48 months that you have not been in school of interruption. So let's say you went to high school and then you went to a community college for a number of years, stopped out, went to another community college, and did some transferring, that type of thing. This is more for you. You do have to be a U of M student, at least admitted. And I know we had some people here that were not technically students, but they were looking to come here. All right, we're going to be competing with a little music. I do not sing, so it is merit-based and need award. And the deadline is usually the end of January. I'm not sure if they're going to change that. I think it's been going pretty well. Over the last couple of years, we have had about 8 students get this award, and it's pretty nice award. I see one of our recipients in here. Wave your hand, yay! And the application, one thing I will say about this one, while it can be lucrative, the application is brutal. It is one of those longer applications. It requires a lot of you. You have to write a personal statement as well as a financial statement. And one of the things, like I said, we have a really great relationship with CEW, and so we've actually driven applications down to them. They have called us and said, hey, someone is missing a letter of recommendation. Do you think you can get this person on the phone? They work really close with us to ensure that our students are eligible to receive this money. And so again, this is a really, really good one. If you're interested in this one, we definitely recommend. I can actually pass this around. This is what it looks like, but again, it is a writable PDF. And so you can definitely come to our office. We will sit with you through this one because, like I said, it is a lot. I mean, they're asking for a budget. They ask for quite a bit of information. And so this is definitely one of those ones you don't start the night before. And you do have to have letters of recommendation. And so, like I said, it is a tedious one, but it's an amazing one. And the connections that you have with the other scholarship recipients, it's lifelong. And so we definitely recommend students apply for that one because, like I said, we've had a really good streak. And over the last number of years, we've had 8 people get it. So think about that one. This talks a little bit about the personal statement. And like I said, as you can see, your personal statement is 2 to 3 pages. It's not, a paragraph saying what do you want to do with your life type of thing. So think, like I said, think about that, especially if you're going to apply for this one. Your financial statement, they want to know what some of your expenditures that you have going on. And this is where I know a lady who won it, and she was really nervous that they weren't going to give it to her because her husband was very well off. He had the money. But she talked a little bit about some of her past and why this was important for her to finish this degree on her own accord, and she did get it. So you do stand a chance. Like I said, we've had 8 students. I'm going to keep stressing that, 8 students. We want more, obviously, but they do really look out for our campus, and so you really, really want to think about that one. Again, letters of recommendation, ask early, keep a copy for your file. One of the things we've teetered around with, and I know this has come up with regarding letters of recommendation, particularly for our non-traditional students in the room, and it's their first semester here, and you had an amazing professor 2 years ago, and he wrote you an awesome letter. Can you use that? It's a fine line, and we've been telling people to at least try to reach out to that professor and get a current letter. I mean, really just asking them to change the date maybe, and but it needs to be on letterhead. But you do want to watch those letters that are old. That's just something we caution people with. That just talks about that. Again, the Women's Resource Center as well as the CEW staff, they're very open to answering any of your questions. Like I said, I mean, they're quick on email, so if you even want to come to our office and sit with us, or we can get them on speakerphone, anything that we can do to help facilitate, we're happy to do. I'm going to talk about the Seroptimists. We've really had a great record on this one as well, with students who have applied and won. One particular student, this was about 4 years ago, she applied at the local level and won at that level. She went to the regional level and won that level as well. And so this is one that not many people apply for it. And so you're kind of it's wasteful money. And so we really strongly encourage this one. This one, the eligibility requirements for the Virginia M. Wagner Educational Grant: you have to be a female attending a college or university and working towards a bachelor, master's, or doctoral degree in your chosen field, have financial need, emphasis on scholarship and educational goals. How many people meet that requirement? How many people are going to apply for this? All right. So, and we have these, this one again is a writable PDF, and so again, we're not making a lot of copies because they're looking for you to do this stuff on the computer or online, that type of thing. And so I know Susan, at the end of this, she is going to be uploading a lot of this information to the Google site so that you can have access to it. But think about the Seroptimists. The award is $1,000, and the club winner is also eligible for an additional $500 district award and a $3,000 regional award. So that's a nice piece of money. And this one is due January 15th. And again, we're happy to sit down with you, help you answer the questions, look over your personal statements, make sure you have all your ducks in a row before you submit it, having that second eye. The other one that they have is the Live Your Dream Award, and this is $1,000. You have to be a female head of your household with primary financial responsibility. And this one is due November 15th. So this one has a much quicker deadline. But again, if you can whip something up or you already have a personal statement and you fit these requirements, I strongly urge you to submit it. You have to have financial need, attending or have been accepted to an undergraduate degree program. You can't have any family members that are Seroptimist members. And again, it's $1,000, and they will, the winner from this one will be considered for a $3,000 regional award and possibly a $10,000 federation award. So this too can be lucrative. So again, if you're interested in this one, stop by our office, make an appointment. We'll be happy to sit with you and walk you through these. For the sake of time, the AAUW, these are, the AAUW, which is the American Association of University Women, they too have educational funds available. Many of them are fellowships. And if you're interested in any of these, one is for a doctoral student who's full-time and working on her dissertation. The other one that some students here may be eligible for is the Career Development Grant. If you have a bachelor's degree and you've been out of work, or it's been 5 years since you've graduated with your bachelor's degree, you are eligible for this one. And this is often like the career change. You're looking to do something different. You may be coming for a second bachelor's, that type of thing. You can apply for that one as well. And so if you have an interest in any of these, there's also one for international students. It's an international fellowship. Women pursuing full-time graduate or postdoctoral study in the United States who are not U.S. citizens or permanent residents, $18,000 to $30,000. So if we have any international students, we can definitely take a look at this. and again, help you pursue that. Some of the deadlines are approaching. Many of them are December 15th, December 1, and January 10th. So again, if you are interested in any of these, feel free to stop by the office and we will certainly help you take a look at these, make sure that you do meet the requirements. That's one of the things you definitely want to make sure is that you meet the requirements. You do not want to do all of this work and you don't meet the requirements. They will not make exceptions for you, I promise. They will not. I've talked to people at CEW. We have great relationships. They're not making any exceptions. Deadlines are deadlines. 2 to 3 pages is 2 to 3 pages, not 4. Because I remember working with a student, and she was like, but I just really need them to know this, and it was 4 pages. And I said, well, you really need to tell them in 2 to 3 pages and figure out how to cut that, because they're not going to read it, and they're automatically going to disqualify you. So part of it is following the rules. That's a big, big piece of this. So think about that. Again, if you have questions, feel free to stop by the Women's Resource Center. We're here to help. And I am turning it over to Jen. Oh, we got to switch out to PowerPoint. You get the power.
Such power. This is awesome. All right. Woohoo. How are you guys doing tonight? I feel like I'm doing stand-up or something. It's weird. I feel like I'm going to say something embarrassing, and then it's going to be on video, and it's going to be bad news. All right. So my name is Jen. You guys know why you're here. I'm going to skip through some of these slides. I basically put all this information in here because I knew it was going to be online for you. So if you ever want to go back and look through it, please do. But some of it is stuff you've already heard, so I'm not going to make you listen to it again. That was the wrong button. Okay. We are going to get this. All right. So university and private scholarships, as you guys have heard, there are a lot of different selection criteria. It's not just GPA. It may not even include GPA. It may be some skill that you have. It may be an interest that you have. There are a lot of scholarships out there that are looking for a lot of different things. So if you don't have the perfect 4.0 GPA, there are still funds out there for you. So definitely look at the funds, look at what's available, and if you're eligible, apply. There may be some scholarships that are renewable that you can get from year to year. I'm almost positive the CEW scholarship is something that's a multi-year scholarship. So there are some things that are out there that wouldn't just be for 1 year, but that could be for a couple years. So definitely look for those things. A couple things that I do want to point out, private scholarship checks, because after you guys listen to all of this information, you're going to go out and you're going to get lots of scholarships. When they come into our office, if it's a scholarship check of $500 or less, we're going to apply it to a single semester. If it's $500 or more, we're going to split it up between the fall and the winter semesters. So just make sure that you just be aware of that. If it's something where the scholarship is meant for just 1 semester, we have to know from the donor that specific information. So if we get a scholarship check for $1,000, we're going to split it into the fall and winter unless we hear from the donor specifically. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that in case you're looking and say, I turned in a check for $1,000, what happened? The other $500 is going to come out in the winter and apply to your bill in the winter semester. Some scholarships, I get asked this question sometimes about the FAFSA. Do I have to file the FAFSA? I don't want to file the FAFSA. Some scholarships are going to require the student aid report, which is what you guys get after you fill out the FAFSA. Some are going to require some need eligibility. So it may not be a requirement for some scholarships, but for others it might be. So just a heads up on that. Okay. So our current student scholarship application is going to be available in January. How many of you filled this out last year? Okay, so when I ask this question next year, I want to see everyone's hands up. This scholarship application is online. It's all online, which is wonderful because for those of you who applied before last year, it was paper. Everything was paper, and it was horrible. And so I'm so glad it's online now. But you guys can follow, like Susan was saying earlier about the about the reference letters, you'll be able actually to follow if your recommendation letter has been submitted. You'll follow it online. It's wonderful, fabulous. You don't have to bug your person. You don't have to ask us if they sent it in. You'll know because you'll be able to look on the application. We have over 75 funded scholarships on this application. Some are specific to majors, some are specific to colleges, some of them are not specific. So it's just a bunch of variety. And we'll match you up automatically to ones that you meet the criteria for. And there's also kind of a recommended scholarships to apply for that you meet the general criteria for, but maybe there's something that we don't know. Like if you're an education major and you're a junior or senior, there might be a recommended scholarship to say, hey, are you going to be student teaching next year? Because if you are, then please fill out this question that asks, are you student teaching next year, which semester? And then you'll be considered for the student teaching scholarship. So just make sure that you're looking at the application, seeing what's out there, and we'll get everything looked at for you. Each scholarship there are some scholarships that are going to have the same deadline, which we haven't finalized it yet, but it's probably going to be March 1st. But other scholarships, depending on how many students usually apply and when the timing works and everything, there may be different deadlines. We have a couple scholarships that are still open now for this year. They're very specialized, but if you want to get an idea of the different scholarships that are out there, I definitely recommend you go to the financial aid website and click on scholarships and then current student scholarships, and it'll be the link at the top of that page. What else do I want to say here? The amounts really vary. You could get a $100 scholarship. You could get a $5,000 scholarship. You could get two $2,000 scholarships. There's just a lot of variation in the different amounts that basically each scholarship account has, but you can get more than one scholarship. So definitely apply. And we do require, actually, I know it says here, a thank you letter is an expectation. We do require that you write a thank you letter, and that's actually something that you upload directly into the system, and then we'll send that to your donor on your behalf. Okay, so there are some minimum requirements for, and this is applicable to most of the awards. Some of the awards might have like a slightly lesser GPA, but usually it's a 3.0. We are looking for some U of M Dearborn completion. It's only for U of M Dearborn students, so we're looking at how you're doing at U of M Dearborn. You do have to be a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen. You have to have a personal statement. You need to let us know about involvement. And it doesn't have to be U of M Dearborn involvement. If you're involved in the PTA at your kid's school, if you're involved in the youth group or leading a youth group or something like that, include all of that information. We do require, I'm gonna use the laser. This is exciting. We do require 2 letters of recommendation. And as mentioned before, one of them has to be from a U of M Dearborn faculty member. So when Susan was saying, stop by office hours, talk to your professors, find out what's going on, make sure that they know who you are, that's important. And I have to tell you, what made my week this week is that I have been working with a student for over a year now, and I have been telling him for over a year now, go to office hours, talk to your professors, go to office hours, talk to your professors. And this week he came in and he's like, Jen, you were right. And I was like, yes. It's been a year, and finally. So definitely, it's helpful. It's going to help you academically. It's going to help you interact with someone who is an expert in their field. It'll give you a lot more information about what their interests are. It may spur your interest in that specific field. So definitely, talk with your professors. Find out, what their interests are. Find out, what any questions that you have about the material. They're teaching because it's something that they really love. They're not teaching math because they hate math. They're teaching math because it's something that is really awesome to them, and they want other people to get excited about it. So go and talk to them. Go talk to them and say, hey, what makes you excited? How can I be excited? And learn from each other. And once you get that relationship, then it's much easier to ask for a recommendation letter than, hey, I sit in your class 3 times a week. Would you mind writing something for me? Because that's going to be really hard for them to do something that's going to be a meaningful letter of recommendation that's going to help you. So just a heads up on that. Also with letters of recommendation, for our scholarship application, what happens is with our scholarship application is that you put their email addresses in the application, and it immediately sends them an email saying, hey, Jen is asking for a letter of recommendation. Please upload the letter here. Make sure that you've asked them first before you put their email address in that. Because if I get an email, let's say I'm not Jen, let's say I get an email saying, hey, Jen is asking for a letter of recommendation. It's like, no, she didn't. I never heard anything from her. What is this letter? And that's immediately going to be a put off. So make sure that you ask the person first. And then put their email address in, because like I said, it's going to immediately send that email to them saying, your letter has been requested. So make sure that you get the okay first, and give them, if they tell you, I'm not going to write the strongest letter for you, that gives you an out. That lets you pick somebody else to write a letter for you. So just a heads up on that. Private scholarships, we talked about that. I'm not going to go any further with this. Recommendation letters. Susan talked about giving a resume or something to a recommender who may not know you that well, or even one who does know you well, so that they can have a little bit more information about you. I think that would be definitely helpful. And the thank you letters are always nice, to let them know, as you all will get scholarships. You can say, hey, I got this awesome scholarship. Thank you so much for helping me. And then next year, you can ask them for the letter of recommendation again, and they'll be like, yeah, I remember you. You were awesome. You thanked me for that letter. I remember that. I will totally write a letter for you again. So remember to thank folks and let them know that you appreciate them. The essay, and I know Shane's going to talk more about this, definitely be careful with your essays. Read over them. For me, a really helpful thing when I'm writing something is to say it out loud, because I realize that I leave out words, because when I'm reading it, I autocomplete. I'm like, oh, there's totally a the there. And then when I read it out loud, I'm like, oh my God, there's not a the there. I need to put a the there because someone's going to read this and go, where's the the? Wow, that was a lot of thes in one sentence, one statement. So just make sure that you're looking over it. I would also caution you about over-reliance on spell check. I have seen scholarship applications that a word is correct, but it's not the correct word that they're looking for. For example, track meets or wrestling meets. It is not salami that they are competing on. It is an MEETS. So the spell check doesn't catch everything. So just make sure that you're reading carefully and looking over that information. Essays. And I know Shane's going to talk more about this, so I'm not going to. Oh, online applications, something that I do want to mention about this. And I know technology is wonderful and fabulous and is getting better and better every year. I would not wait until 11:59 to submit an application that is due that day, because something's going to happen. The website's going to crash, your Wi-Fi is going to go down, your power is going to go out, something is going to happen. And you're going to have worked so hard to get that application in, and you're going to hit the submit button, and it'll just go kapooey. So don't do that. I would say at least a week in advance, kind of put that in your head, psych yourself out, that if the deadline is March 1st, that you need to get that application in February 21st. Just do a mental thing, just get it done so that you don't have to worry about it last minute. If there's something else that you need, you find out about it. So definitely be aware, be careful with online apps. Yeah. We have a lot of information on this scholarship website, so I would definitely do that. Looking early is a great way to go. Starting locally is a great way to go. The Sir Optimus Scholarship, it's only folks around this area, so definitely get that looked at. Scholarship scams, we talked about that already. Fastweb.com is a free web search. There are a lot of websites that are free web searches, so definitely take advantage of them, see what's out there, and look for those. Okay, so how scholarships are going to affect your financial aid. We cannot award financial aid in excess of the cost of attendance. And when I'm talking about cost of attendance, I'm talking about an estimate that we use for tuition fees, books and supplies, a small transportation allowance, a miscellaneous allowance, and a room and board allowance. So all of those things combine to make this cost of attendance. Now, when we're looking at need-based aid, which is grants, some of the need-based loans, and work study funds. We have to take the cost of attendance. We subtract the EFC that's coming off the FAFSA. We subtract any resources that you have, and that determines your need-based eligibility. So if you get awarded financial aid in May, let's say we get everything out to you, you've turned everything in on time, we're good to go, we get you awarded. If you then let us know about a scholarship later, don't necessarily be surprised if some of this might change. So let's say your cost of attendance is $17,000 and your expected family contribution is $3,000. Well, that gives you a $14,000 eligibility for need. If you then get a $10,000 scholarship, then we have to adjust your need-based aid to $4,000. So just be aware that that may change. We're going to look at adjusting your loans first. The grants are going to be a last resort. But just know that this could happen, that your aid may change. Speaking of the FAFSA, I know this is a scholarship workshop, but I needed to talk about this for 5 seconds. Please fill out the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. If you're looking for money, the FAFSA is the application for grants, loans, and work study. If you're looking for free money, we are looking at this March 1st date. So if you have ever filled out your FAFSA after March 1st, you may not have seen some additional grant funds because March 1st is our priority deadline. It's also the state deadline for some of their programs. So get your FAFSA in February. Even if you don't have your taxes done, you can estimate those, get your FAFSA submitted. You can always make corrections after you finalize your taxes. So estimate, file by March 1st. You do have to file the FAFSA every year. So every single year, you're going to submit the FAFSA after January 1st, submit it before March 1st. Get that done, and then check Dearborn Connect for that year. So for next year, it's going to be 15-16. If there's anything that we need from you, make sure that you submit that as soon as you can so that we can get your file complete and we can get you awarded, and so that you know what to expect with financial aid. So March 1st, FAFSA by March 1st, current student scholarship application by March 1st, March 1st. Okay. So this is our website. I know it's a little bit harder to find with the redesign. There's no direct link, I think, from the homepage. But as many things at the university, you just type what you think it is after the umdearborn.edu, and you'll find it. Like the registrar's office is registration, and the cashier's office is cashiers. So it's quite easy to find different things. So just type financial aid after the homepage. And our phone number and our email address are on here as well. Please call us with any questions, financial aid related, scholarship related, whatever, let us know. Do we have time for questions, or should I wait till the end? Question? Okay. Does anyone have any questions for me? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, very good question. So the question was, when we're looking at this, let me find it. Okay, nope, wrong one. Yes, there are over 75 scholarships on this one application. So you're going to fill out a general application, and it's going to ask you for a question about your career information. It's going to ask you about your involvement, and then it's going to ask about any need-based special circumstance type things that you have. Then it's going to automatically match you up with whatever you're eligible for automatically. Like there are some that they're looking for, because it's going to pull your information from, we match up with our system. So like if there's one scholarship, I think for juniors and seniors who are in CASEL who have at least a 3.25 GPA. So those students will automatically be considered for that scholarship. If it's something where it's asking for juniors and seniors who have a 3.25 GPA in CASEL who are going to Turkey over the summer, which is not a scholarship. But if it's something like that, then it's going to show up in a recommended scholarship column for you, and then there's going to be, you'll see all the scholarships, and then it'll give you a question to answer. It'll say, are you going to Turkey this summer? And if you answer yes, then you'll be considered for that scholarship. So there might be like a couple of additional questions that you have to answer to be eligible for those scholarships as well, so that we know that scholarship would fit you, but it's not, you wouldn't have to answer a whole bunch of new questions. It's normally like just a couple questions that you would have to answer. So then after I ask you that, Right. So you'll automatically match up with the ones that you're eligible for, and then you'll just get a list of a bunch of different scholarships that you fit the general criteria for. For example, we do have a study abroad scholarship. So there's one scholarship that is specifically for Castle students. So if you meet the general criteria, that'll pop up in your recommended. If you're not doing study abroad that year, you can just ignore that scholarship and then look at the other scholarships and what they're asking for. So for most of those, it's just like a one or two question addition that it's going to ask you. For example, if you are like a College of Ed student, like I talked about earlier, this is a real scholarship, not a made-up one like the Turkey one. We do have a scholarship that's specifically for students who are student teaching during that academic year. So we're going to ask you, do you plan on student teaching in this upcoming academic year? What semester? So then you answer that question, and then we'll consider you for that. If you answer no, then we won't consider you for that because you're not student teaching and you wouldn't be qualified for that scholarship. And we actually have had students who do that, which is strange to me. They actually click through the questions and then answer, like, are you going to study abroad? No. Like, then why are you looking at this question? So just look at the ones that would be applicable to you, and then answer those questions so that you can be considered for those scholarships as well. Because we won't know that you're interested in student teaching unless you answer that question, yes, I'm student teaching. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, what other, yes? Yeah, you'll see it on there's like a home page, like a main screen after you log in, and it'll show you automatically what you match with, and then there's a part where you can click on recommended, and that'll pop up, and it'll show all the ones you meet the basic criteria for that you can then answer that. Right, right. And we'll probably have it on our main page in January as well. And we'll send out an email, and we'll have it on Facebook, and if you follow the university on Twitter, we'll tweet it out. So definitely look for that information. Yes. Yes, undergrad and grad students. There are a couple scholarships. The majority of them are going to be for undergrads. There are a few, and I think they're working on getting more graduate scholarships, but mostly undergrad. Yes. Most scholarships are going to grant money for the academic year because they know that you're going to be enrolled in the fall and the winter semester, so it'll be for the whole year. So if you get a $1,000 scholarship, you can kind of assume it's going to be $500 in the fall, $500 in the winter. If you're transferring, you're going to, and it's specific to, like if you get a U of M Dearborn scholarship, that scholarship would only be at U of M Dearborn. So we wouldn't send that to Ann Arbor for you because we're looking for those funds for our students. But you would definitely want to apply through the school that you're looking into and finding out about their transfer scholarships. Yes. Mm-hmm. The 12 credits would be by the end of this semester. So including this current semester, 12 credits total at the university. So if you took 6 credits in the winter semester and 6 credits this fall semester, that's 12 credits total. Or if you're taking 12 credits this semester, that meets the 12 credit. Right, you would want to look for it for the next academic year, definitely. But definitely look for private scholarships as well. Yes. I think there are 1 or 2 that are less than 12, but for the most part, 12 is the minimum because the committees are really looking to see how you're doing at U of M Dearborn. Okay, what other questions? Okay, I'm going to turn this over. My stand-up routine is done. I'm going to turn this over to Shane. and she will talk to you about writing the perfect essay that is going to get you lots and lots of money. So make sure you pay attention. Yeah, it's the bottom one clicks you forward, and then the top thing is the.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, this has been, hi, I'm Shane. Thank you for being here. This is a personal statement PowerPoint that applies to, right now I'm working on graduate student essays, but ultimately this can apply as well to scholarships. It can also apply to writing a cover letter for a job. Ultimately, you've heard a lot of what I have to say already, but the most important thing is just don't be stressed out about it. I mean, I know that's very hard to say to someone, especially when there are matters of not only your academic career, but your financial well-being is at stake. But just try to be as calm and as fixated on a positive outcome as opposed to a negative outcome as you can be. Okay. The reason I didn't bring examples is because what happens, I work in the Writing Center, is someone will say, but this got my cousin, sister, partner, best friend their scholarship, or this got them into grad school. And chances are you have a lot of things in common with that person, but you are not that person. So when I see people say, well, I want my personal essay to look like this, I want my personal statement, I want my statement of purpose to look like this, ultimately, what works for someone may not work for you because their story may not line up with yours. They may not be going into the same field that you're going into. They may not be in the financial situation that you're in. They may not be of your ethnicity or national origin. There might not be something, if it is related to something like ethnicity or gender or national origin or even religion, then if you are not that, unfortunately, you're not going to qualify for that statement or for that scholarship. So ultimately, one of the things that everyone has said is start early. Again, easier said than done a lot of times, but if you're thinking about scholarships right now, or you're thinking about graduate school, or you're thinking about something, there's nothing wrong with at least getting a framework down that here are all my positive points. Here are awards I have won. Here are my grades. Here are faculty members or previous employers or people with whom I volunteer that I can get letters of recommendation from. Just having that framework not only works for things like applying for the scholarship, getting into grad school, again, it can transfer very easily into a job situation, like, again, writing a cover letter for something. This applies as well to this. Scholarships are about mutual benefit. As much as you would like that money, as much as people would like to give you that money, everyone wants a win-win situation. So when you're applying for this scholarship, or when you're applying to grad school, or when you're going to that job interview, think about, I know what I can offer these people. What are these people offering me? And remember to frame your essays and the things that you're saying around an idea of mutual benefit. Oftentimes, when I read personal statements, or I read scholarship applications, or I read something, it's all, here's everything wonderful about me, and there's nothing about the program, which kind of goes into the next statement, which is homework, homework, homework. In every situation that you're hopefully going to succeed in, somebody wants as much to know, they want you to know as much about them as you're going to tell them about you. So again, one of the things that I've seen is either very, very heavily someone talking about the wonders of this scholarship or the wonders of this program that they want to enter into, and now you've forgotten yourself. Or conversely, here's everything that's wonderful about myself, but it really doesn't have I have not made any effort whatsoever to talk about this scholarship or to talk about how this scholarship and my goals my personality, my desire to go out into the world and do something past the moment of this award, how the two of them meet. And a lot of times, when you, especially when we're thinking about scholarships, and again, like you're thinking about jobs or grad school, what someone wants to do if they award you this scholarship is potentially bring you back and say, here is so-and-so, and they are a wonderful example of, and again, everyone who stood up here has told you X amount of people have won these scholarships. This is someone who has won this scholarship. You may very well become an example. You might even be so far as to be presented in literature, or you might have to stand up in front of a room, as I am, and saying, I'm so-and-so, and this is what the scholarship did for me. So think about the idea that this is you marketing yourself to these people. You are presenting yourself as, it can be a product, it can be a gift, it can be a solution, but you are trying to figure out how to put yourself into this position, and they are trying to figure out if you fit into that position. Your story is unique, but they've likely read it before. Everyone in this room has a unique personal story. However, there are a lot of stories that we can say are very similar to one another, especially right now in Metro Detroit. Having financial hardship is commonplace, very sadly. So if your jump point is, I have financial hardship, I really, really need this money, and then you don't expand on it. You don't say, I lost my job, I have this situation. Think about what you're saying that may apply to other people and how you can make that your own without going overboard about something that is potentially something negative that you have now turned into a positive. That's something else too. Hardship is, unfortunately, as I've said, very commonplace right now. But try to think of the way that you can sell a difficulty that you've had as you trying to present a solution that you've come across, or how you've succeeded in this negative, or how this taught you something about yourself. Again, what these people want to hear is how you are adaptive, how you are intelligent, how you are a problem solver, and how you are going to take all of those skills and move them into not only this academic career of the 2015-2016 school year, but also how are you going to represent any of the institution of the University of Michigan-Dearborn? How are you going to represent this scholarship? Personal pride is not egoism. Ultimately, there are two kinds of personal statements that are not particularly enjoyable to read. One is, I am spectacular, and everything about me is spectacular, and you are just bumming out because you have not yet met the spectacularness that is me. Conversely, everybody else in my life has helped me in such a great way. I am not very special. There is nothing unique and interesting about me. Everything that I need to do is dependent on my religion, my family, my this person, my that person, my school. There's a middle ground. But if you've achieved amazing things, or you have overcome something that is incredibly difficult, that you are a really great juggler of home, family, school, work, volunteer organizations, your church or religious organization, say that. There's nothing wrong with being absolutely proud of your successes, even if they don't seem unique. Consistency is paramount. As I tell people, when you're turning in your scholarship application or your grad school application, or again, a cover letter for a job, they're not just getting your personal statement. They're getting your transcripts. They're more likely than not getting at least one letter of recommendation from someone in your life. And they're probably getting something else that's possibly, again, an example would be if you're in the fine or applied arts, they're getting your portfolio. Those things have to tell a consistent story. So if you've said what a thoughtful, intellectually engaged person you are, and every personal recommendation that you get talks about your spontaneity and how you've got all this energy, and it mentions nothing about you being thoughtful, think about that. Or if, when you're writing your personal statement, what you've said is kind of in contradiction. Say there was a dip in your grades, something that happens to all of us. There's a dip in your grades, you've got a completely reasonable explanation for it that may or may not come up. But you said, I've always been on the dean's list, and there's your 2.0. Just think about what you're saying and what you're presenting, because someone is going to look at that whole package. And we'll get to wild cards. Everyone said this, start early. Again, come up with that framework and keep it. And I would say keep modifying that framework. Put it on a flash drive. Put it somewhere that you're not going to forget it. If you're the kind of person who likes a hard copy, make a hard copy of it and have the 2014 framework, and then add to it in 2015 if you're considering going on to grad school. Do it in 2016. But keep up with this idea that, oh, I might need to come back to this information, or I might want to look at how I've progressed. That's a great way to look at it. Say, okay, here's where I was in my sophomore year of college. Oh, now I'm in my first year of grad school. Oh, hey, what were my highlights? Hey, I've forgotten about those stuff because I'm so in my first year of grad school. I've forgotten that I've gotten these awards. Again, compile all of this stuff. If it's a CV, if it's a resume, and I would say writing samples. Oftentimes, especially in very heavy writing disciplines, make sure that you have those things at the ready. Sometimes someone says, I would like a copy of your academic writing. Do you have this spectacular paper you wrote? Do you have some research that you've done? That's easy. Again, put that on a flash drive. If you're a hard copy person, keep it in a file. But you've got it, and you don't have to go searching for this paper that won an award, or if you were in Lyceum, say, or you've been published elsewhere. You don't have to go looking for it. It's right there and easy to find. Sources for recommendation letters. As I think has been pointed out, oftentimes someone is looking for a university person to talk about you, your intellectual development, what you did here at the school. But there are other sources as well. Think about, again, if you've got volunteerism that dovetails nicely with your academic career, that's an excellent person to have there. In fact, depending on where you are in your academic career, someone in consistent volunteerism might know you better and might know how that applies. Say, education would be a great example. Or if you're doing political action work and you're a poli-sci major. Those things might be a little bit more useful to you when you're looking for this kind of well-rounded picture of yourself. Use all available resources on and off campus. As has been cited, you have the Women's Resource Center here. You have the Writing Center. Oftentimes, again, even though you might not think that it applies, if you see a cover letter writing workshop at a library, go to it. You might pick up something. There's always something you can learn, and there's always somebody willing to help you. Beware of helpful hints. This is going to occur over and over again. Someone inevitably will tell you, this is what worked for me. Or, oh, you know what you need? There's not enough of insert. You didn't talk about volunteering. You didn't talk about your ethnic origin. You didn't talk about this or that. That's great if you think that person's got some insight. But don't just all of a sudden start taking everyone's helpful hints, because you will have a 7.5-page personal statement. And most of it will not particularly be relevant. Okay, again, this goes to grad school, but don't worry about it. It goes back to what I was saying. You want to have a relationship with this scholarship, with this organization, where you and the organization or you and this scholarship really sound on paper and when someone's talking person to person that you are actually a match. As people have said, there are going to be things that you do not qualify for, and that's just fine. I think there is a very specific Armenian scholarship here. I am not Armenian. I did not apply for the Armenian scholarship. That there is no fault for anybody for not applying for that scholarship. But as people have said, I think Sharia pointed out that there is money that just sits and is not awarded to people. Really think about what that scholarship wording is saying and think, okay, maybe I'm not a perfect fit, but here are 2 or 3 things that work within this framework. I should at least try, and that's exactly what you should do. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Again, do your homework. Find out, I'll give you an example. I won a scholarship, and this was actually in my thank you letter, but what had happened was the woman for whom the scholarship was named had died of a very specific ailment. And as such, among other things that the family did was not only provide the scholarship that I got, they actually, they supply a chair, an incredibly generous chair at U of M Ann Arbor. And while I did cite what my scholarship, what the scholarship was, the name of it, I also went and found out that this woman's family was actually, members of her family were saved because she had died of an aneurysm. And because they had actually funded this chair, other members of the family did not, in fact, had the same condition, did not die of the aneurysm, and they actually went back in their own family history, and once they had done some studying, had found out that more likely than not, this woman's own mother had died of the same condition. One of the things I said in my thank you letter was that's an incredibly sad experience, having someone's wife, someone's mother, someone's family member die, especially the woman was very young. She was in her early 50s. But they turned that tragedy around, and now other people are benefiting, not only intellectually, they're also benefiting, they're having the benefit of potentially saving lives. And I think that that is, like, I was fascinated. I was fascinated by this woman. I was fascinated by her family. And I really was impressed that they cared enough to name the scholarship and do this. It's a very specific chair in Ann Arbor, but if someone's doing this research, that's incredible. And those are the kinds of things that are interesting and unique to any of the scholarships that you may get that might make you as excited as I was when I learned about this woman. Devise your own template. Again, this is something you can, in the best of all possible worlds, carry through your entire, not only academic career, but your entire life. Keep these copies of what you're doing in 14, what you're doing in 15, what you're doing in 16. And you're going to have a personal narrative that emerges for anything that you need, whether it's I need to go to grad school, I need to apply to the scholarship. Some of you might go on and start to write grants or start a nonprofit corporation. This is exactly what you would have. You would have all this framework and you would be able to figure it out and say, this is where I saw. I knew in 2014 this was going to happen to me. And that's a kind of incredible story to tell someone. Again, beware of helpful hints. Just because someone said, I applied to the scholarship and I got it, you should do it. Just take it with a grain of salt. You're so smart, but so are other people. Ultimately, again, people are their own biggest fans and their own harshest critics. What you might want to do, going back to hanging stars and hanging heads, you didn't set the world on fire yesterday, and you didn't hide while it burned. So somewhere in the middle is you and all the amazing things, all the unique things, all the smart things, all the incredible things that you've done that are your personal narrative. And when push comes to shove, what you need is honest appraisal, and there's someone in your life that can provide that. We've already talked about going to get personal recommendations from people. Those are great people to ask. Usually your family members, not always the greatest people to ask, but certainly professors here, anybody who's doing work outside, ask your boss, ask some of your coworkers, ask somebody you know that you're not particularly friends with, but you know respects you, likes your work ethic, people that you've worked with in group projects that you've had a kind of a good rapport with. Those people are going to give you insight that not necessarily your friends or your family is going to be able to give you. Past meet present and future. One of the things that I think we forget is that, again, something brought you to where you are now. So go back and try to think of what led you to a career choice. Can you pinpoint a moment in the 5th grade? Can you pinpoint a moment in your life that made you come to the University of Michigan-Dearborn? Can you go back and think about how what has happened previously is affecting what's going on right now and where it's going to take you in the future? Because people like personal narratives like that. Again, don't listen to everybody. Consistency, beginning, middle, and everyone's future is not in academia. Everyone's future is not necessarily a straight linear journey. However, most people, again, can at least get to, and then next year I will. It is my hope in the future that that story has to be as consistent as possible. Unless you've had the light bulb over the head in the cartoon moment, what you need to have is a story that says, I remember being in the hospital and I saw X, and then this happened and it brought me to this. That's personal. It's got a lot of picturesque imagery in it. People can relate to things like that. Tell me something I don't know. Again, this goes back to, what does your CV say? What do your grades say? What does this letter from my professor say? That I get all of that. What can your personal statement tell me that I can't see? As I was saying to somebody the other day, I thought what was interesting about her personal statement was that she had developed a number of patents. This woman actually holds patents, and she developed them while working here in the engineering program at UMD. But one of the patents that she holds was because her mother's cell phone wasn't doing what her mother wanted it to do. And she literally holds this patent because her mother's cell phone wasn't vibrating at like a level her mother could feel it. So she's actually devised this new kind of vibrational system that's working in Asia right now. So just saying that she has that patent doesn't tell me how she got to it. Also, there's got to be who said what. Who said what to me is go back, and now this isn't true of all. Sometimes you can actually see what the people who write your letters of recommendation say. Sometimes you can't. But when you can see these, actually say to yourself, what is this person saying about me that I have seemingly forgotten about myself? Is there something in what they're saying that I kind of left out of my narrative? And how can I put this in and make it either consistent, or does it kind of spark me to a new idea about where I want to go with my personal statement? Again, make your story make sense. And here's a good example going back to a letter of recommendation. If your professor, I can remember there was a professor who is very good friends with another friend of mine, and they were just hell-bent on this woman going to graduate school. She didn't go to graduate school, but, and I'm sure it was a nice intent. The professor told her that her life would be over. Those were the exact words, if she did not go to grad. My friend's life is not over. She owns her own business. She is perfectly happy. But that was, I'm assuming, was a helpful hint that this professor gave a friend of mine. Everything's fine. Wildcards don't need to be wild. You need to set deadlines for yourself. As was very, very, very astutely pointed out, if you wait till the very last minute, something will inevitably go wrong. So if you give yourself 2 weeks, 10 days, 5 days, even 48 hours before the deadline, that means you can get all your ducks in a row. That means someone else can look at your statement. You can read it aloud. All of the things that have been said before, anything that's not that moment, 20 minutes before you decide you want to apply for the scholarship. If you've set those deadlines, they don't have to be particularly long. I mean, there are people out here that all this stuff is in a row 6 months out. If that's not you, that's not you. But anytime before 24 hours is probably best. Having backups. Again, put this stuff on a flash drive. Do not just have it on one computer in one place, here at school, on your laptop, because inevitably your dog will step on your laptop. Inevitably there will be a blizzard and school will be closed. Inevitably something horrible will go wrong and you won't have any ability to get to that. Additionally, going back to personal recommendation letters, don't say this is the one person, if I don't get this one letter, again, all will be lost. Have a number of people. Yes, one more likely than not does need to be someone from this campus who knows you intellectually and academically. But have those other people. Have people in your mosques, in your churches, in a volunteer organization. Again, a neighbor that you've known for a very long time, someone that you've worked with. Any of those people can absolutely provide very, very insightful comments into who you are and what you've done. What's the worst that could happen? My best friend said this to me, if you don't do this, if this doesn't happen, again, is the world going to burn down? Probably it won't burn down. So if you miss a deadline or you didn't write a long enough essay, chances are you probably have done something else. If you wanted to apply for 20 scholarships and you only did 19, it is not the end of the world. So just be aware that you can only do the best that you can do. And filling out one scholarship application and doing one personal statement is better than doing 0 personal statements. So just do the best that you can do, and I'm sure something good will come of it, even if it's the experience, even if it isn't about getting the scholarship and you have the experience, and that's better for the next time you apply, or it's better for when you apply for a job or go to graduate school. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions? I know all of this has been, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And I am in the Writing Center. I am there Tuesdays and Thursdays, 5 to 7 this semester. I have helped with, all I'm doing right now is personal statements. I have helped with a lot of personal statements, so please feel free to come see me. Okay, the Writing Center that I am at, thank you for asking. The one I work at is in the Castle Building on the 3rd floor. But we also have satellite centers in the Fairlane Center. Someone can help you there. We also have center in the library on the 2nd floor. Anyone else? Well, thank you so much. I'm going to turn it back over to Susan.
Thank you, Shane. Thanks. So this is the end of our scholarship workshop. I wanted to see if anybody has any questions, whether from me, Sharia, Jen, or Shane. Is there kind of some last minute questions? And we're happy to talk to you afterwards, or if you wanted to schedule a meeting too. Anybody? Nope. Okay. So a couple of things that weren't mentioned. You are not guaranteed to get a scholarship because you came to the scholarship workshop. But you have a head start because you're thinking about the process. We just gave you some tools to start your search and find the scholarship, multiple scholarships if you want to apply, and to get your application started. If you have any questions about a scholarship, if you want us to proofread your personal statement, the Writing Center, you could drop by there as well. And we're happy to look over that for you. We're located upstairs in 2106, and you have some information on the brochures with our contact. Also, let's see. I want to thank you for coming to the scholarship workshop. I want to thank Jen with the Office of Financial Aid and Shane with the Writing Center. Also, Campus Video Network for filming this tonight. So we'll be able to, for the students who weren't able to come tonight, be able to share that video. So, thank you.